Britain's obsession with not allowing asylum seekers to work is against the basic stream of wisdom which we see in other countries. If you were to go to Australia or Canada, you could work, or Sweden, you could work. People from Ukraine can work in Denmark. If you were to go to Germany, you could work after 3 months. Belgium after 4 months. Even if you were to go to the US, you could work after 6 months. But in Britain, it's 1 year and then only in a very restricted number of jobs. And in the meantime, the UK bellyaches about the accommodation it must pay for to keep all these asylum seekers, how they are being kept in 4 or 5 star hotels. Untrue, of course. Even if they're using 4 or 5 star hotels, they're being kept 12 to a room and then certainly definitely not being given 5-star treatment. But beyond that, the next issue is that these people are being kept in hotels and allowed to walk around the streets, and they're disturbing the local community. Well, let's assume they are disturbing the local community. Well, that's because they've got nothing to do. The devil makes work for idle hands. And, we could stop this nonsense immediately by allowing these people to work. Number one. Number two, if Suella Braverman is so obsessed with buying tents to house asylum seekers, why hasn't she bought tents to house homeless people? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And, again, in her desperation to make a point, she is establishing quite clearly that there are resources to help people. She's just not using them. She's squandering the money she's got, in the same way as Nadine Dorries squandered the money that she had in the Department of Digital Culture, Health and Digital Culture, Media and Sport, in her effort to pursue an ideology to privatise Channel 4. The ideology for these government ministers, for Nadine Dorries, for Priti Patel, for Robert Jenrick, and others, I'm sure, is more important than actually helping people. The ministers and the MPs are there to help. They're there to represent their constituents in Parliament. And if they're not doing it, if they're not holding surgeries, like, for example, Nadine Dorries apparently isn't, then they should be fired. In any other job in the country, if you didn't do the job, you would be open to being fired. And it's possible, if you didn't do the job and you were still taking the money, you could be pursued through the courts to return that money because you're effectively taking that money fraudulently. You're taking the money and you're not doing the job. We are in a very, very strange position because so little is written down about what parliamentarians do, because there was an assumption that parliamentarians were the elite, that they'd already had a real life and were coming in until 1911, when they were first paid. There was an assumption that they were able to sort out their own payment, able to keep themselves, and this was something that they were doing to give back to society. Now we've got the career politician who subsists on the amount of money that is paid to parliamentarians and is eager to join select committees so that they can bump up their wage. This isn't how it was originally intended, but it was always intended that the person elected to Parliament did the work and represented the people who had elected him or her. So not to do that is a serious transgression. It's not in the rules because nobody drawing up those rules even thought it was a possibility that someone like Nadine Dorries would say she would resign and wouldn't do so, and would just sit in post, taking up space like something that you keep flushing and flushing and it simply won't go down. Nadine Dorries, the floater of the parliamentary intake. I think we need a plumber.